What's going on, y'all? So I want to give you my review of the Maag Audio EQ2. So I first heard the EQ4 at Sweetwater last year, and I really liked it. Uh, the EQ2 was announced shortly after that, and it was really hard for me to justify purchasing this EQ because it's only two bands and it's only boost only. Uh, Most EQs give you three or four bands, and you can, of course, boost or cut. So, what made me buy a two band boost only EQ? Well, the EQ4 using the airband sounded really sweet to me when I got to try it out at Sweetwater last year. And I demoed the plugin. I wasn't really impressed with the plugin, but I was so impressed with the EQ4 that I decided to go ahead and purchase the EQ2. And so far, I've been extremely glad that I did. So the EQ2 has an extra band that the EQ4 doesn't, the 15K. That is one of my favorite go-to frequencies when boosting high end, 12 and 15. Uh, Also, on the low end, what's really crazy about this EQ is down in the low mids, down in, say, the 220 hertz, 150, those are normally frequencies that I cut in vocals. With the EQ2, I can boost those frequencies and they sound good. They don't get muddy. It's really crazy. Also, on the EQ2, you have an input attenuator, which the EQ4 doesn't have. It's used as basically a trim knob that lets you dial back the signal coming out of the EQ2. It's really handy. Another thing I like about the EQ2 over the EQ4 is that each of the two bands are switchable in and out. So let's get into some examples. So the first example I'm going to show you here is a mix I was working on for Shayla, and I'll play you part of the vocal here dry, and then we'll see what we can do with the EQ2.
I always trusted through thick and thin, always believed your love was good enough. Yeah, even when the money stopped coming in, stepping up for you was nothing, 'cause I knew we'd win.
So that vocal was, well, besides the reverb on it, there's no processing, there's no EQ, no compression. Uh, there's a very nice, the vocal has a nice high end, but I want to bring out the high end a little more. It's just a little dull on top, but just the natural tone of that from the raw recording, I like that high end, but let's see how we can enhance it with the EQ2. So right now I've got it set at the 20K shelf, and we've added about 6 dB. So I'm going to flip that in, and let's see what the airband does to this vocal.
I always trusted through thick and thin, always believed your love was good enough. Yeah, even when the money stopped coming in, stepping up for you was nothing, 'cause I knew we'd win.
Greatly improves the vocal, in my opinion, and it really makes it sound more in your face. You can see the level meter there. I'm not getting more gain on it. It's still around the same gain. It just sounds more in your face. Now, I want to show you that with the EQ2, a lot of people say, why is there a 40K shelf on an EQ when we can't hear that high? The 40K frequency, it can do a lot for a vocal. And just to prove that, I'm going to let's boost it a little more. So we'll go up to 8 dB gain, and let's switch to 40K, and let's see what the airband does to the vocal now.
I always trusted through thick and thin, always believed your love was good enough. Yeah, even when the money stopped coming in, stepping up for you was nothing, 'cause I knew we'd win.
And just a reminder of what it sounds like dry. Let's take out the EQ2.
I always trusted through thick and thin, Always believed your love was good enough. Yeah, even when the money stopped coming in, stepping up for you was nothing. 'Cause I knew we'd win.
Now, I want to show you the lower band and show you what I mean by how adding lower mids to it doesn't make it sound muddy. So right now I've got a 220 hertz, which is, like I said, always a frequency that I cut in vocals 9 times out of 10. Using EQ2, it actually warms up this vocal and makes it thicker. So I've got 4 dB gain. Let's insert that. And I'm going to add the 40K back as well.
I always trusted through thick and thin. Always believed your love was good enough. Yeah, even when the money stopped coming in, stepping up for you was nothing. 'Cause I knew we'd win.
So again, no muddiness there with that added frequency. Now, let's bring in the Pro EQ from Studio One. So what I've done here, I don't know the exact curves that the EQ2 is set to, but let's compare the EQ2 to the stock EQ in Studio One. So I've got a 220 4 dB bump and a 20K 6 dB shelf. So let's bring the shelf back down to 6 dB on the EQ2. And go down to 20K. So now let's compare these two and let's hear how the hardware sounds to the software. So let's first, okay, I got the EQ2 out. So let's first listen to the Studio One EQ.
I always trusted through thick and thin. Always believed your love was good enough. Yeah, even when the money stopped coming in, stepping up for you was nothing. 'Cause I knew we'd win.
Now to me, that 220 hertz is, it's not making it muddy, but I'm starting to hear some frequencies that I don't like. Let's take out the Pro EQ and let's add the EQ2 back in.
I always trusted through thick and thin. Always believed your love was good enough. Yeah, even when the money stopped coming in, stepping up for you was nothing. 'Cause I knew we'd win.
So there you go. That's the EQ2 on some R&B vocals. I've been using this EQ a lot on hip-hop vocals, so let me show you that. Okay, so this is a vocal from Juggernaut, and I'm going to play the vocal dry, and then we'll add in the EQ2.
You got me in the trance where you make it dance from behind. Drop your body to the ground and throw your body in rewind. So hypnotic, so erotic, staring at them hips and thighs.
So you'll notice in that vocal, there's some sibilance in it. And what's great about the EQ2 is that it lets you boost frequencies above the sibilance, which is the 20 and 40K. Now, of course, if you boost 5, 10, and possibly 15K, you'll get some extra sibilance added to that. But watch how we're going to add 8 dB at 40K with the EQ2, and watch how it lifts the high end, but it's not adding any extra sibilance to the vocal.
You got me in the trance where you make it dance from behind. Drop your body to the ground and throw your body in rewind. So hypnotic, so erotic, staring at them hips and thighs.
Now, that's a little much high end for a hip hop vocal, in my opinion. But the way the EQ2 adds, we're going to turn on the 220 hertz, which is the same frequency I used on the singing vocal. Watch how it now evens out the vocal. So I've got a lot of high end I'm adding, and now I'm adding 4 dB at 220. Now the vocal is going to sound more natural. And instead of hearing a whole bunch of air, we're now evening out the vocal frequency wise.
You got me in the trance where you make it dance from behind. Drop your body to the ground and throw your body in rewind. So hypnotic, so erotic, staring at them hips and thighs.
So you can see with that 220, it also made the vocal sound bigger. We're not hearing all that high end, even though it's still there, because we're evening it out with the low mids now. Now I'm going to play it again, and I'm going to take the EQ2 out halfway through it so you can hear the immediate difference. And I'll let it loop through twice.
You got me in the trance where you make it dance from behind. Drop your body to the ground and throw your body in rewind. So hypnotic, so erotic, staring at them hips and thighs. You got me in the trance where you make it dance from behind. Drop your body to the ground and throw your body in rewind. So hypnotic, so erotic, staring at them hips and thighs.
Okay, so you can hear there how the EQ2 can enhance a hip hop vocal. Now, one thing totally unexpected that I've gotten from this EQ. So everybody talks about the airband and praises the airband. I found that the low end on this EQ is fantastic. I've gotten larger than life kick drums using the low end on this. So now I'm going to show you how I use the EQ2 on a kick drum. Okay. So here's a mix I've got up from an artist named Party, produced by Mark O'Dane. And the kick drum in this, I use EQ2 on. So I've got an 88 hertz bump, and I'm adding 6 dB. So I'm going to play the kick dry, and then we'll add in the EQ2. Okay, so not a bad kick drum sound, but I wanted to add some low end and weight to it. So let's engage the EQ2, and let's hear what it does. So you can tell that's got more weight and it's a lot more punchy. So I'm going to play it, and now I'm going to switch between the two. Okay, so what I want to show you now, back to do another software-hardware comparison. I've got the Pro EQ up on the kick drum, and I've got the same 88 hertz bump at 6 dB. Now, again, I don't know what the EQ curve on the EQ2 is, so I've got a fairly wide curve here on the Studio One Pro EQ. So let's listen to that, and then we'll compare it with the EQ2. And let's bypass it again. Okay, now let's compare what the stock Studio One EQ does versus the EQ2. So I'm going to play the plug-in first, and then as it's going through, I'm going to switch in the EQ2 and switch out the plug-in. So you can hear the EQ2 just gives the kick drum it's really its own tone, uh, different from what the software plugin does. So again, I've been using the EQ2 on my kick drums as well because I love how the low end sounds on this EQ. So there you go. To sum it up, really loving this EQ. Even though it's only two bands, even though it's only boost only. Uh, Only negative thing I really have to say about it, and this is being extremely picky, is the frequency switches feel a little tight, and they can be hard to turn sometimes. Um, Again, I said it's being extremely picky. Another thing, the frequencies in red, which is a tighter Q on the Q band. The frequencies in red are hard to see from a distance. You've got to really get up on it to see what those frequencies are. Of course, the ones in white are a lot easier to read and easier for me to read from further away. So those are my only two cons, I would say, about the EQ2 in my opinion. However, the pros farly outweigh the cons. If you're looking for EQ that's got a great low end and of course air band, you want to add some nice high end to your tracks, check out this EQ2. All right, I'll catch y'all next time.